Good morning, and thank you for being here. My name is Lieutenant Courtney White. That's COURTNEYWHITE, and I am the Chief of Staff for the Arlington Police Department. We wanted to provide you with some initial information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred on Friday night. On Friday, January 10th, at approximately 6:46 p.m., our officers were dispatched to a title loan business in the 600 block of West Pioneer Parkway. A passerby called 911 and reported seeing two individuals who were possibly armed and entered the building. Our officers arrived on scene and began setting a perimeter. Two officers who were covering the back door saw the back door open. One man exited the building and then immediately took off running. Moments later, a second man appeared in the doorway and from behind the doorway displayed a firearm and began firing. The two officers then fired their service weapons multiple times in the direction of the male. The suspect retreated back inside the business and then attempted to exit out the front door. Officers posted on the front side of the business then took the suspect into custody without incident. We are incredibly grateful and relieved to report that no officers were injured during this incident. The suspect, who has since been identified as 37-year-old Kelvin Bivens, was not injured either. Shortly after the exchange of gunfire, multiple employees of the business exited out the back door. Our officers could see that their hands and their legs were bound by tape. They were all safely removed from the business. While they were shaken up, they were not injured as well. Mr. Bibbins was booked into the Arlington City Jail on one count of aggravated assault against a public servant and on another count of aggravated robbery. We also learned he had an outstanding warrant of aggravated robbery out of Shreveport, Louisiana. He is currently being held at the Tarrant County Jail. The second individual who ran from the scene remains at large. Our detectives continue to follow up on leads as they work to identify and locate this individual. There are currently two investigations taking place. The first is our criminal investigation, which will be led by the homicide unit, and they will review the incident as a whole. The second is an administrative investigation led by our Internal Affairs Department, which will review if our officers followed department policies and procedures during the incident. Per department policy, the two officers who fired their service weapons are currently on administrative leave. We are not releasing their names at this time, but I can tell you that both are male. One of them has been with the department for 3 years, and the other has been with APD for 2 years. We plan to release relevant portions of body-worn camera and dashboard camera footage at a later date, once the investigative teams have finished reviewing it. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
For the other gentleman that you guys are still searching for, give me an indication of how much danger does he pose to the public right now? What do they need to know about this gentleman?
Well, we would like the public to know if you know any information regarding this incident, please contact the Arlington Police Department immediately, because that could help us locate this person. Our officers are actively close patrolling the business. Our detectives are actively working the investigations to keep the streets of Arlington safe.
Do you have any identifying information, like any description of him that you want us to put out?
No, not at this time.
Along the same lines, was there any surveillance video that got a look at him that potentially could be released?
So our detectives are working on this investigation, and obviously there's evidence that will lead to clues in order to capture this person. Due to, and just out of respect of the investigation, I won't get into details, but just know that we are actively looking for this person in order to locate them.
Do you know the total number of employees that were taped and bound, and did they give any indication as far as what was said to them? Were they told, do this or we'll shoot you? Were they looking for money? Do you know any idea of what the conversation was between the suspects and the employees?
There were several individuals who were bound and taped. Our detectives did interview those individuals on scene on the date of the incident. But again, out of respect for the investigation, I won't get into those discussions.
Is anything taken from the business?
They're working through with the business to determine what, if anything, was removed.
Given the scenario you had, it was very successful in what the police officers were able to do, and with no injuries and all the other stuff like that. Could you tell us about how remarkable something like that is? We never hear that something that positive, how you guys reacted and were able to stop something like that.
Okay. Our officers train for incidents like this yearly, every day. You don't expect something like this to occur, but it can. And we were successfully able to set up a perimeter. The officers began calling out the suspect, and it's just unfortunate that one of the suspects began firing at our officers, but we were able to safely remove those individuals from the location, and they were unharmed.
When he ran from the back to the front, officers, did he surrender? Was he taken in without any kind of resistance at all? For him to be firing at the back and then run out the front and be apprehended with no gunshots and seemingly no resistance, is that correct? Did he just keep himself up at that point?
That is correct. So when we set up a perimeter, that means we surround the location. So while he encountered officers at the back, when he began firing at those officers, maybe the suspect didn't believe that officers were in the front. So when he attempted to run to the front door and leave out, he encountered officers, and he did surrender without incident.
Was a weapon recovered from that gentleman?
Yes, a weapon was recovered.
Any indication of what kind of weapon?
I don't know what type of weapon it is. Our crime scene unit will test the weapon and determine what type of caliber, and also shell casings were found
You
at the
didn't say-
location as well.
How many shots do we know were fired between the two parties?
I didn't say. That's what our homicide unit and our crime scene unit will investigate. How many shots were fired by our officers, and then how many shots were fired by the suspect.
It's pretty harrowing situation for those
Yes.
employees, pretty elaborate. Are there any thoughts that this may be connected to anything else that you guys have had happen in the city recently?
No, I don't believe that it's connected to anything. I haven't been told it's connected to anything. It's just an unfortunate situation, but the outcome was positive and no one was injured. The officers, the victims, neither the suspect.
Would you be able to say at this point, like, is it, like, do these people, were they just looking for a place to rob, or did they have like a relationship with that place? They singled that business out?
Well, that's what that's a part of the ongoing criminal investigation. Speaking with the suspect, speaking with the victims, the business owner, just to determine if there is a relationship, or were they staking the place out prior to, or was this something that happened by happen chance and went a little too far?
Has that particular business, just out of recent knowledge, been robbed before?
I don't know if they've been robbed before, but I can get you that information.
Lastly, 911 call kind of initiated all this. The importance of a bystander being that cognizant and to see what was happening and call 911. Kind of talk to me about that.
Absolutely. If you see anything going on, in this case, the buyer was driving by and saw these two individuals with masks on, and he or she believed that they were handling a firearm and was about to enter a business that they could actively see individuals inside, and so they decided to call. We want to tell the public, if you see things like this, even if you're unsure, it does not hurt. We want you to call 911 so that we can respond and make sure that everyone is safe.
I think that's it. All right. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.